Hello, and welcome to Enough and Evolving podcast. I'm your host, Tyona Vallejo, Master Certified Life Coach and Mindfulness Expert, helping you reclaim confidence, break through unhelpful patterns, and manifest the relationships and life you desire. Now let's get started. All right, today I'm so excited. I have a special guest on the podcast to celebrate Mother's Day coming up this weekend. I thought it'd be fun to have my mom on the podcast. Welcome, Mama.
Thanks.
This is Sylvia Allen. Those of you that don't know my mom, so a lot of you know her. She comes to yoga with me all the time. She actually goes more than I do, to be honest. And I thought it would just be fun to share some of her wisdoms as she is now in her 70s. And we just got back from sharing some travels together. We went on almost a 2-week travel bit, that retreat that we did in Empower. She was a part of that retreat, one of the retreat guests. And we went and played a little bit before and a little bit after. We went to Boston before we got to Azores, and then we went to Lisbon, Portugal for the first time. Actually, I think she did a quick stint there before. But yeah, we had an amazing time. It was so much fun. I'm sure if you were following me on Instagram, you saw a bunch of pictures of us. And yeah, it was good. It was good. So we're going to dive into today's topic, talking all about motherhood and lessons that we've learned in motherhood, as well as just some of the things that come up that can be challenging, and how we would really hope others would maybe feel more empowered, let go of some of that motherhood guilt that seems to creep into all of us. And so welcome, Mama. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Of course.
So my first question for you today is, what did motherhood teach you about yourself?
That I am capable of raising a child, and that my heart could be opened up to give a lot more than I realized. And it was just so fulfilling to know that giving can be rewarding. And so that's my experience.
Yeah. I definitely feel that too. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but I didn't think, when I was younger, I didn't really think about having kids. I mean, I think when I was really young, it was kind of like, oh yeah, you're going to have 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of the ideal. But you probably remember, as I was a teen, I was like, no, kids, no, and I just was so, for lack of better words, self-centered. Just like, I didn't want to have to take care of another. Didn't think probably I was capable of taking care of another. I was kind of party girl, kind of crazy. And so, yeah, so that is something that I definitely agree motherhood teaches you, is like, okay, this show is about more than just me and my, things that I do. And you're capable of really just opening your heart and spreading so much more love. And in doing so, it's like you feel so much more love, like that unconditional love that you have as a mother. It's like no other. Like, that really just cracked me open. It's like, this is like completely unconditional. Like,
Exactly. And you experience a bond that you didn't know existed, and you're like, wow, this is very cool.
Yeah.
So.
And you had me very young. You started that realization at what, 19, 20?
I was 20 when you were born, just about ready to turn 21. So yeah, I was a child in many ways. So it was eye-opening for sure to experience that. And but to know that it was good. It was a good thing.
And what kinds of things were you mentored or taught about motherhood that you can recall? That
I guess just by example of the moms in my life, just how they were nurturers, and they always kept track of what the littles were doing. And there was a lot of moms in my family that just, their joy was just being a mom, and they weren't really career oriented. Their place they felt were in the home, and so it was important for them to have that good relationship with their kids and, prepare a loving home for the kids to grow up in. So that was kind of the modeling that was, I experienced.
So then how did you manage, because I remember growing up, you were also, you did work and you were going to school and you were doing things to improve your education and our ability to, have things.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So how did you balance that?
Well, it was a balancing act, and I was also influenced by my father, who early on in his marriage, he needed to do continued education, and he wanted to be a better role model father, provide everything for our family. So I took, that was in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I need to continue my education and work ethic, and as well as, balancing the home life. So being a mom early on, I would just kind of split my time between going back to school, coming home, make sure we had nice meals, play, on the weekends, and just, it was a whole balancing act that continued for many years.
I think that's one of the biggest struggles that I hear from a lot of women, a lot of moms that are still taking care of younger children and even trying to juggle, like when they have older children, just like being there for family, all of those obligations. Are there any things that you've learned that you would, pieces of advice or tips that you would give to moms that feel like they maybe aren't meeting up with their own expectations, and maybe they're feeling like they're struggling or failing at that balancing act?
I think you just have to come back to grounding yourself and just reflecting and contemplating on what it is you want your life to look like. And even though we want a good family life, we're still individuals that have certain goals that we want to reach, self-care that we need to implement to make us feel good day to day. It's reflecting and contemplating on following that. That's how I approached anyway.
What's something that a memory is coming to my mind where I remember you had a planner, a journal book, physical planner, and you would write in it, and I remember you would write things about my sister and I, right? Like things that you wanted to remember for us, to do for us or whatever. And I do recall that was interesting to me, that I got put in the planner, I guess. I don't know. That is just like, that I was important for you to just remember that. And that at the same time, there was this idea of she's got a full schedule and a life and other responsibilities. And so it just kind of made me see that it wasn't just about me either, right? Yeah, that's interesting. That just popped up into my head.
That's funny.
So one thing that happens, I think, with a lot of mothers is that feeling of complete love and elation for this new, relationship that you now have with your children. And also, I think somewhere along the line, in becoming a mom, we tend to lose ourselves, lose who we are. And in ways I can see how that's necessary and not really a bad thing. And at the same time, I think there is challenge in that, because you're wondering who the heck am I now? Can you speak to that, your experience? Was there a time where you realized, I don't know, I've lost myself, or do you have recall any memories of that experience or your challenges with that?
Well, I would say, have questioned who am I at my core. I still have that question because my past has been, with divorces and children and moving a lot. I do have a restless soul, but again, I do just cherish my responsibility to my family, my kids, my husband now, and so I don't want to lose that part of me that's into exploration and just travel and just having fun. And so I think for me, I just need to keep asking myself, okay, who is Sylvia at the core? And I want to just nurture that child inside, because I think she's just as important as the responsible mom, responsible wife, and citizen as far as our relationship to our world.
Yeah.
So
That's so beautiful. I love that. And that is so important. I think, again, I was saying that I think it's necessary that we lose ourselves, because I think we're always changing day to day. We're always anew. And so I love that you brought up the fact that you're constantly asking yourself again and again, who am I? Who am I at my core? Because, yeah, we step into these roles, we play, we, have these different identities, and then we go to the next and we change again and we become the next. And especially as we age, right? We've been talking about that quite a bit, of how we identified with, a particular youthful beauty at one point, and then when your face begins to change and everything, your body, and you're like, okay, wait, who am I? It's really kind of a mind F, right? And so
they quit calling you miss and they call you ma'am. You're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah. And so I loved something that you said a while back, and we were having a conversation about that, about aging, and how you've been such a great mentor to me for, aging gracefully, and just like, trying to really embrace yourself and the privilege of aging, although being real about it when you're like, I just like, you miss things about your youthful look or whatever. But I love, one time we were having a conversation about your girlfriends, and you were talking to them, and they're a little younger than you, right? About a decade younger. And so you were saying to them, they were turning what, 60, and you're now in your 70s. And so you were saying to them what? To
enjoy their 60s.
Yeah, right? Because then you'll get, hopefully, to the next decade, and you'll look back and you'll go, wow,
exactly.
She was pretty fly.
60s is looking pretty good when you're 70.
Yeah.
Embrace them.
Yeah. So I think a lot of women, because again, they go through that transition, they go through, the women in midlife, there tends to be this lack of confidence that many of us go through in our mid-age. This kind of struggle with feeling as confident as we maybe once did. Did you experience that, and what was that like for you? Or
well, I think retiring, you no longer have that identity of a working woman, so I would experience, like, again, asking that question, okay, who am I? So that has just come up, and I think you have to just redefine yourself as, like, it's okay to embrace whatever stage you're at, and just like, okay, what do I want this to look like now? And for me, I had, a lot of time alone at home, so that's how I just stepped into really gearing up my fitness and just making yoga just a constant, just an everyday thing for me. So that's been very fun. And along with, other activities that I want to do for myself.
Yeah. So what's something that you wish you could tell your younger self when you're looking back at, these challenges that you've gone through, just motherhood overall, relationships? You talked about how you've had a couple different marriages, and so what would you like to go back and say to your younger self? What does she need to know?
Just for me, it was like, you don't have all the answers at that particular time, and you just need to pick what feels right at the moment, hoping that you will make some good decisions for your future, but just trying to tap into that part of yourself that needs to be nurtured, and just like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. It's for that person inside. Just continue each phase that way that you enter. It's kind of how I approached it anyway.
Yeah. And a lot of women put a lot of pressure on themselves, a lot of expectation. What do you say to the woman that is feeling like, she's not meeting her expectations, and whether that's in motherhood, whether that's just with her life, herself, in herself? Is there something that, has helped you, or is there somewhere that, you feel like women overall, especially women in mid-age, are putting too much pressure on themselves that you would wish they would just let go of?
Well, I think in life we tend to just strive for perfection all the time, and life is perfectly imperfect. So I would say just to embrace the imperfection of it, like the shoulda, woulda, couldas. Just don't, need to stay in your heart. You need to embrace, this is where I got so far, and maybe I'll change this way, maybe I'll change that way, but whatever decision I'm doing, it's okay because I chose it. And if I need to make adjustments, that's okay too. It's perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, it sounds like just this constant accepting and forgiving. And when you're having a hard time doing that.
I think we're constantly growing. We'll never stop growing. So it's just something that to accept it is going to help you out in the long run.
Yeah. What do you feel has been your biggest lesson in life, whether it's motherhood or your relationships or just overall?
I would say forgiveness. Forgive yourself for any shortcomings you feel like you didn't reach. So forgiveness of loved ones, or for me, that seems to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it just burdens you so much, and it steals so much of your joy. And that's one of the things that I know I love helping women with when I'm coaching, is just getting out of those places that we tend to get stuck in, that mom guilt. Right? What do you think? We talk a lot about being enough, right? And this podcast I named Enough and Evolving. What do you believe being enough means to you?
I think just being alive and being curious and being open to constantly learning is enough.
Existence, right?
Yep.
Yes, I agree. All right, I have just a couple last questions. What is one thing you think that I got from you?
Drive and putting together a cute outfit.
I would agree, 100% agree. And I think that's something you got from your mother, right?
That's true.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, thank you, Mama, for joining me
You're welcome.
on this podcast. And thank you to all the listeners for listening to our mother-daughter podcast. I hope that you are enjoying your Mother's Day weekend, and whether your mother is still present physically or is present spiritually, I hope that you can feel into her comfort and warmth in your heart this week.
Great.
All right. Thanks.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. If you're listening to this and you're recognizing yourself in these patterns, this is exactly the work I do inside my coaching. This isn't something you have to figure out alone. If you're ready to feel more confident, grounded, and self-trusting, I'd love to support you. Check out the show notes to book a consultation coaching call today.